Hey everyone, welcome. It is time for the weekly news. If you don't know, we record the weekly VeeCap, the retrospective of the week in VeeFriends live in the Let's VeeFriends Clubhouse. And you can join us there right now if you're seeing this. More likely you're watching the replay. So just bear with me for a moment. We're chatting right now. I'm just going live. I got my Baby Yoda cup. We'll get started in just a minute. So here's a really important question. Is it CCU Mato or CCU like tomato or CCU Mato like tomato? Oh. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. I always wonder because I say you end up being in the live stream a lot and you always have thoughtful things to say, so I shout out your comments, but I could not pick a way to say your name because I was unsure. Yeah. Cool. Whew. Well, yeah, Jacob, you can definitely let people up. I've been inviting most people. So a few folks in the audience haven't declined, but by all means, feel free to invite them. It was quite a week in VeeFriends, and I feel like there's even things I missed. Holy hell, my notes are long. I am just doing a little bit of recon to see if there's anything I missed. I think what people are most interested in is the book games. The book games. I would love to hear people's thoughts about the book games. Just like predictions, speculations, thoughts. Oh, wow. Interesting. Hey. Yeah, how are you, Seema?
Okay, good boy. Rocky, sit. Good boy. Good boy. Oh, yeah. Sit. Rocky, sit. Good boy, stay. Good boy, stay. Good boy, stay. Rocky, stay. Sit. Rocky. Good. Is Daddy asleep? Is Daddy asleep? Okay, good. Got a little dirty today. Oh, hi, baby. Hi, Rod. Are you a good boy?
Yep.
Rocky,
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm very much aligned with what was just being discussed. I think the book games is going to be physical and digital. I think what people maybe have forgotten is that the 12 and a half book is a workbook, that it's like very much kind of like philosophical, and him going deeper on his opinion of these different soft skills, but that they all result in worksheets and they're meant to be used. We saw that because some people are getting the books, there's actually one of them where you like write out the things that you're good at and then you tear the sheet out of the book and post it somewhere where you can see it. And I think there are probably like 5 games that are going to be available. It may just be one game, but I think probably like 3 to 5 games that are available over the holidays. And by collecting various tokens, you can combine them for a better token. That's why if you have a lot of them, you have a bit, he literally called it a head start, because you don't have to go and find, whatever tokens on the secondary market. You already have the ones you need to put together and get to level 2 or level 3 or level 4. But he also said that some people will get very lucky and just from buying 12 books will get one NFT that totally changes their game. And I think I think that's probably going to take a few different forms. But I think what he's been hinting at is that the very, 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 very lucky black cat is in the collection, and there's a very limited number of them, and having it does something really awesome. Yeah, I think you're onto something, but I think it's going to be more complicated than just collect one of each because let's assume you're right. I think there's going to be 13 characters, but let's go with your assumption. There's 12. Then of those 12, they're probably each going to have 5 different rarities. And let's say you collect all 12, maybe that gives you um, one of the second rarity tier, or five of or a few of the second rarity tier, And I think they're also going to be exchangeable. Like I think you can almost like use them as currency and exchange them for access to him, or maybe like empathy wines, or yeah, I don't know. There could be a thing where like they've set aside 5 cases of this new empathy elephant wine, and you can get it by trading in the right book game NFT or the right combo of them. Yeah, I think there has to be competition because he just loves competition so much. That's my intuition, at least. Absolutely. What did I do? Oh, right. Yeah, that's dumb. Mm-hmm. Well, and the other aspect is in the same way that he can add utility to the VFriend 1 tokens whenever he wants based on opportunity. Like what happened today with Empathy Elephant, maybe it was an idea in the early days, but like it didn't exist until it did. And I think it'll be the same way with the book games. Like he'll come up with a game and then he'll find the way to incorporate the NFTs into the game. And then if you have them, you can play. If you don't, then you can't play. Oh, that's great. Did he, did he, did, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. You got it. Mod it up. Oh, I see. I'm sorry, Jacob. I never modded you. That's why you were. My bad. My bad. Oh, we also have to talk about. See, this is why conversation is so good because I almost went like I have a long list of notes for this week, and I didn't even. I don't have anything about the PLP, and I don't think it was mentioned last week. Yeah, it was sneaky. Yes, me too. Mine has a yellow beanie, yellow glasses, and a golden wand. And I don't know how rare it is, but it's just such a nice aesthetically. It's just so nice. Do we know like what has anybody really done research on this project? I know it has a STEM component and an education-based component, but can anybody speak to what they're actually doing? Right. And it's still minting. Yep. Oh. Yes, I think so. Sure. Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, so many projects, so little ETH. It's not the time, it's the ETH. Yeah, the flowers are great. I sold one last night to cover my whole investment. Yeah. That was such a moment too. Like how many hundreds of sales happened during that show? It was a lot. It was like 3 or 400. DNA is a new Twitter Spaces show called DNA, which stands for Discover New Artists. And Gary had Sarah Bauman from Women and Weapons on. And when the show started, and it was awesome, like they got into her story. They talked about female representation in the space. They talked about longevity, working hard, her story of like having multiple one-of-ones on sale for months with no sales. Then Gary discovers her and changes her exposure in a massive way. But in the background, when the show started, the floor price was 0.05 ETH. And when the show ended, the price was 0.17. So it basically tripled over the course of an hour. Yeah, I mean, there weren't that many that low, but like even in the first like 10 minutes, it was still 0.07, 0.08. Yeah. Yeah, the flower. Oh, go ahead. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I can check it right now, but it tripled during that show. It went from 0.05 or 6 to 0.17. Yeah, the flowers was interesting because like he tweeted about it, then announced it in the Discord, and they were still minting. They sold out in a matter of minutes, and everybody I don't know what happened, but people freaked out. Like the floor was the secondary floor was at mint price, and then it actually was a bit above mint price, and then it fell all the way down to 0.01 within like an hour. And then within the next hour, it was back to mint price. And now 2 or 3 days later, it's at 0.4. Holding them. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But their floor is holding up. Their floor is still 0.16. So it's still triple from the show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's tempting to want to sell at this price, I'll be honest, because for 0.05 it's almost a 10x on the mint. It's like it's getting there. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's really cool. So for people who don't know what Matt's talking about, each of the brain vomit flowers has 7 attributes. So there's, and feel free to correct me on this, Matt, but essentially owning a flower is eventually going to give the owner 7 seeds that they can transact with a dirt token and move the art on chain with the attributes. So like every single one of the attributes of your flower will be a seed that you can then use to recombine an on-chain version of your token. It does a bit, yeah. Yeah. You're ma- mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some hit and miss. There's definitely some hit and miss, but he's mostly hit. I mean, yeah, I've got mine listed for 0.65 right now, and you're making me feel like I should delist it. Yeah, you live and you learn. They're collectors, yeah. I mean that's amazing. He has. Yeah. 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 Well, I just paid $36 to delist mine, so I appreciate this conversation. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's interesting. I mostly did it because I respect the serendipity of a moment in being this moment, and secondly, I really only listed it because I got greedy. Like I sold one last night for point, like not even where it's like I could have made a lot more. I sold it for 0.28, but it covered my investment. So I'm actually holding the two of them for relatively free, and so I don't need to be greedy. It's more fun to take the ride. That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's just one of those to keep an eye on. If it and I would also the other thing is I would be really sad if it got to a point where I could sell the two of them that I have and get a V friend, and I didn't. Like that is basically my counterpoint for everything. Like, oh, if I'd only bought 5 ENS domains and put them in different wallets for 50 years, how many V friends could I have? Just being silly. I think we have a podcast to record, my friends, and it's getting longer and longer. Should I talk about the brain vomits in the podcast? I think I'm not. I think that's just for this live audience. It's not really VeeFriends news. I think this one's going to be long, so I'm going to dive in. Any final words before I do? All right, I'll try to get it done before 6. So you. All right. Deep breath. Focus in. It's funny because like in my head I was like, oh, if only you could see me right now. But the reality is that people can see me because I'm streaming on Twitch. What a moment. Thank you for the one person who is watching me on Twitch. Okay, let's get started. Ready, set, go, and welcome to the show. This is Jeremy Knows. I'm your host, Jeremy, and we have a weekly VeeCap. This is the show where I take all of the bits and bobs and events and brain vomit shills and new Twitter Spaces shows and macro micro news in the VeeFriend space, and I cram it into a podcast of 15 minutes or less so that you have absolutely no FOMO about what happened in the week and you're ready for the week to come. And it's also the show where I practice the intro to the podcast that someday will actually be set. Moving on. It's a huge week. I'm looking at my notes and thinking, talk faster. But in reality, things deserve the time that they need to be explained and communicated. And I want to just set the stage and say, this is the week that Gary is in control. Gary's been telling us for a while that he knows exactly what's going to happen. He sees the patterns from Web 1 and Web 2 playing out again in Web 3. And in the same week that Staples Center is renamed the Crypto.com Arena, and Coinbase announces the first projects to be listed on its NFT platform, which you guessed it, includes VeeFriends, as well as Creature World, World of Women, and Drifter Shoots. It is a massive week. Collaborations with Stoner Cats, Empathy Wines making a special announcement today, and a huge reveal about what is now called the book games, the 12 and a half book gift NFTs that everyone is highly anticipating. So without any further ado, welcome back to the show, and let's fucking go. I'm going to kick it off with Empathy Wines and some other things that are peripheral in the ecosystem. So We were joined in the VeeFriends Discord today by John Troutman and Nate S. Sorry, Nate, I don't know how to say your last name. Longtime employees of Gary Vee, partnered with him on his Ask Gary Vee book and more, ultimately became his business partners in Empathy Wines when he launched it in 2019. At the end of last year, I believe, Empathy Wines was sold to Constellation Brands. So this is actually a brand collaboration. Gary's not controlling the operations at Empathy Wines and brokered a deal with Constellation Brands between Empathy Wines and the Empathy Elephant to release a 2019 Empathy Elephant Cabernet Sauvignon. Now, if you're a wine person, you're going to be very excited about this because it is a true Napa Valley cab. And I'm not even a wine person, and I know that that matters. If you want to get into the nitty gritty, it's a Bordeaux mix. 92% of it is Cab Sav. I didn't get the rest of it, but it's a very traditional Bordeaux. And the big piece of this is on the label is the gold Empathy Elephant. And this is the second consumer product that we have seen from VeeFriends. And so this is going to be a highly collectible wine as far as Gary is concerned. And the suggested retail price based on the grapes and the process that was used to create it is around $175 or more. So being the ever-present under promise, over deliver, add value to your community sales guy, Gary Vee is selling this bottle of wine for $85, almost $100 off the suggested retail. And if you buy 3, you get it for $85 a bottle. If you buy 6, $75 a bottle. If you buy a full case of 12, you get it for $70 a bottle. And there's about 1,200 cases available. So it's very likely this is going to sell out. The link to get involved is at empathywines.com. But they're not on sale yet. It will be a limited release between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So if you're a wine person or if you want to collect the things in the VeeFriends ecosystem, be aware. Plus, but wait, there's more. And I'm very pleased to say I almost called this one on the nose. And that is, there are 3 characters identified as the wine characters: Empathy Elephant, Last Glass Standing, and the Sensible Sommelier, which receive some of these collectible wine bottles for free. So if you hold an Empathy Elephant, you get 6. And if you hold a Last Glass Standing or Sommelier, you get 3. And you can claim your bottles and give your shipping information through VeeFriends.com, the same way that Gift Goats and Hangout Hawks and all the other access claim their experiences. VeeFriends.com, connect your wallet, navigate to your profile, and you should now see an interface to claim for the tokens that you hold. And let's just zoom out for a second and recognize some things that Gary said in the announcement that were very telling. He is going to be in the wine business for the rest of his life. During the course of this announcement, we saw a Sensible Sommelier sell for something like 12 ETH, which is significant considering the floor is around 8. So somebody certainly saw the long-term value. Does it make sense for that person to spend $50,000 to get 3 bottles of wine that he could have bought for $85 each? In the short term, not so much. But in the long term, what is that going to become over time? Gary reiterated that Empathy Elephant, he thinks, is probably one of the top 5 characters in the entire collection. So highly anticipated announcement. I think it met expectations. I wonder if it exceeded expectations. You're going to have to let me know. Moving on. In the Gary Vee-verse, Gary is now voicing an animated character in the Stoner Cat series. So Gary actually swept the floor a little bit of that project, purchased 12 tokens, I believe. He gave away 9 of them on Twitter on the day that this was announced. So you can only watch that episode if you hold a Stoner Cat token through their platform. But it's interesting to me that for years, Gary has turned down TV shows, appearances, like Hollywood in general. And now he's starting to dip his toes into the scripted performance realm with an NFT project like Stoner Cats, obviously backed by old friends, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. So there's that relationship there, but super interesting. Also, sidebar to V Friends is the Ask Gary V show. Today, in a Podcast Panther interview, Gary V confirmed that there is a, quote, very in-depth conversation about bringing the Ask Gary V show back in the same format that it was, taking questions from Twitter, live call-ins, and all the rest. So you got to love it. Actually, Ask Gary V is the content that brought me into the Gary V space. So it's very exciting. I immediately tweeted him and told him I would volunteer to ask the questions. If you want to pump that tweet, you're more than welcome to. Next, DNA with Gary V. Gary announced a new Twitter Spaces show that he's going to try to do pretty consistently. We don't know if it's going to be once a week, every other week, but he reaffirmed in that Podcast Panther interview that he's really obsessed with it because he sees a direct impact on an artist's life, and he really thinks that the people on the other side in Twitter will win. There were more than 5,000 or 6,000 people in the first episode, which debuted yesterday, Tuesday, November 16th, with Sarah Bauman of the Women in Weapons Project. And I think there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it for the culture, and you can look at it for the market. For the culture, it was wonderful. We got to hear Sarah's story, her journey as a medical practitioner and doing this art on the side. And now, because of Gary V's platform, has been able to move full time into art. The process of her dabbling in NFTs, listing her first one-of-ones, and seeing them not sell for months, and then ultimately being discovered in this way. And the whole story of releasing her generative project, Women in Weapons. And they also did a lot of conversation about female representation in the space. There was some data statistics that came out that of those who are benefiting from the gains, the financial gains in the NFT market, only 5% of those are going to women, which is something that I think culturally was known, but now has data backing it up. And just the solidarity of Gary giving this woman a platform to talk about what is a very real problem and therefore opportunity for this space in terms of diversity, representation, and access was really nice to see. On the other hand, you have the market piece, which is Women in Weapons was sitting at a floor of 0.5, 0.7 ETH when the show started. During the course of the show, there were actual hundreds of sales. I don't know the exact answer, but there were some 700 sales on that day. I think more than half of them happened during that 1 hour show, and the floor skyrocketed up to 0.18, and it has now settled today at 0.16. So another example of the market moving very fast and the rewards going to those who are bold and making decisions. Congratulations if you're in on that project. I want to add a disclaimer that Gary can be wrong. Gary is following his intuition, sharing artists that he is personally interested in, thinks have a shot at making it, and also have long-term value. He can't control the market from buying it at 0.07 and relisting it the same day, but he's buying this project because he thinks that Sarah has a 15, 20, and 35-year trajectory as an artist. The same way that he gave a lot of attention to Stephen Rea's Brain Vomit Flowers this week, which have also been doing very well. But I just think it's really important, especially as I see a lot of comments about Gary facilitating or orchestrating a pump and dump. Well, check his wallet. Gary has not dumped a single one of these tokens. And at least for my 2 cents, it's fully within his rights to share his perspective and his alpha, as it were, with the community that he has built over the last 15, 20 years. Okay, stepping off my soapbox. We saw 2 Podcast Panther interviews in the last week. There was one on modern lending, and the second one today from Mojo Moby. And big shout out to Mojo Moby, because not only did he do a fantastic job in the interview, I was happy to witness it live, but he also created a podcast specifically because of this opportunity. And I think it was very indicative of sort of getting outside of your comfort zone and allowing the engagement with the NFT space to be a proxy for each person, whether you're an artist, a collector, a marketer, whatever you are, to allow this to be an opportunity to grow. And it was cool to see him with the community that he's been building and the project that he's launching next week, have that moment with Gary Vee and sort of example that for all of us. If you want to check that out, he is Mojo Moby, MOJOMOBY on Twitter, and his project is mojoheads.com. Whew. This is a fun week. I know, like, I really need to stay focused. We're 13 minutes into this. You've been very patient because I know most people just want to hear about the book games, but Gary Vee is hustling. He also did a surprise PLP drop this week. So there's a company called Blue Studios. They released a generative project called Blockchain Adventures of Bella the Blue Dot. That is the token is a lifetime access to their ecosystem for their play to earn game that integrates education and STEM courses in some capacity. Haven't done a full deep dive. But they were really sneaky about this and just dropped it in announcements without tagging anyone. You know, typically if there's an announcement, there's at least one everyone tag, but they wanted to reward those who are paying attention in the Discord. So unlike the other PLP drops where it was randomly distributed to 555 wallets holding VeeFriends, this project you actually got to sign up for. So the first 555 verified holders who filled out the form in the announcement blog received their token. Those tokens were airdropped on the 10th and on the 15th, and they revealed today. That project is still minting. So if you're in the business of following Gary Vee's PLP projects, it's bluestudiosmint.com, or you can find them at Blue Studios NFT on Twitter. On and on and on. Lots of hype this week with giveaways. So we had the Stoner Cats giveaway. We also had a Go giveaway. And I think we learned a lot from this giveaway. And it sort of went the way that I said in the previous podcast. You know, Gary announces the giveaway. There's a lot of hype and anticipation for it in the Discord. The Discord is on fire. It's moving faster than people can read. Then Gary says, "What's up?" And it goes even faster. And then tries to get people's attention, says shush a couple of times, in order to drive their attention to Twitter, where the giveaway actually happens. And this has happened a few times now, which is why I'm repeating it so that you can be prepared the next time it happens. On the one hand, it's basically a lottery. I hope nobody feels bad that they didn't win the Go giveaway. It's a 1 in 200,000 shot. But on the other hand, the person who won the giveaway, I think we can all agree, really almost earned it in a way with what they shared. The simple task was to share a VeeFriends GIF and say why you deserve the token. And this person shared a story that they are dealing with like an incoming death in their family and that they've been taking care of them. And it's their parents' anniversary on the same day as Gary's birthday. It was just such a moment. Like, I read the tweet and I almost cried. And I personally felt very happy that Gary read responses, and of all the heartfelt requests for a Go, went with this one that is actually going to change that person's life. So congratulations to Aaron, Blazing Ace 40SW on Twitter. Feel free to give them a shout out and a congratulations. They got a very rare YOLO Yak Go, and instead of selling it for the status quo, they actually listed it for 777 ETH. So welcome to the community. A few other significant sales this week. A core patient panda sold for 55 ETH, and Gary today said it was underrated. And then just after that, a Go rare gratitude gorilla sold for 48 ETH. So it's very interesting in this moment where VeeFriends floor is, at a low of 8 to 9 ETH. And yet we're seeing characters like the Heart Trooper sell for 15, the Panda sell for 55, and specs even are selling for around 18 to 22. So I know this might be frustrating for some people, but at the same time, this is the market figuring out and determining what's worth what and what is what. On that note, if you are in the market to buy a VeeFriends token, there is a white glove service being offered by both Gary Vee, and Adam Rips, who is a protege to Gary Vee on the VeeFriends team and very knowledgeable about the market. They're actually doing one-on-one onboarding for people who are ready to buy a VeeFriend. So if that's you, go ahead and do it. I thought it was very notable to see some of the tokens that they're advising people to buy. So, and I feel like they're mostly character based, but this is not all of them. This is just a handful. So Adam Rips and Gary Vee, and when they do this, they actually get on a video call. There's like a whole conversation. They look at the market. They talk about your budget. It's very in depth from what I've been told. And they advise the purchase of a Core Heart Trooper, a Flex and Fox, a Tasteful Malaysian Tapir. Those are all cores. A Gold Self-Aware Hare, a Lava Juicy Jaguar, and a Lava Observant Oyster. So just think about that in terms of characters, things that like might be underpriced if you're in the market and taking a look. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes. At what, 20 minutes in? The book games. This week, Gary came out and announced that the book NFT for 12.5 is going to be referred to as the book games. And without giving us details about what these games are, sort of gave us a lot of hints about what it might be. Number one, the question is, if I have more NFTs, how does that advantage me in the games? And his answer was it gives you a head start. So my thinking right now is that there's going to be a combination event. He previously said that there's not a burning mechanism, but maybe there's a combination event, or maybe he was throwing us off the scent and there is a stake and a burn option. All of this is speculation, but he also said to collect them all. And I think it would stand to reason that with 13 traits in the book, that there are at least 13 types of tokens, and we've seen that there will be rarity involved. He confirmed again that if you bought your books at Barnes and Noble, that you have quote unquote better odds. It's been a question for a while. He pushed it in the original announcement that if you go through Barnes and Noble, that he might reward that extra effort. And he confirmed this week that it means better odds. Better odds for what? Better odds for the rarity, the utility, the access, the gamified attributes of the tokens that you are getting. He was asked if Just Art was going to be involved. He said yes. He also made a point to say that if you only have one token, that you might get very, 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 very lucky. And this is a little bit of a leap, but from the previous VeeFriends mini drops, there was only one of the 31 one-of-one tokens that were released that included the very, 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 very lucky black cat. And as the mascot of the entire collection, it would stand to reason that he's going to be very precious about the collaborations that character is involved in and how it's used in the development of the IP. I think he was very intentional when he said, even if you just got one, you might get very, 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 very lucky, and that there's going to be an extremely limited number of black cats in the collection that will probably have a high advantage for whatever playing these games is. I'm sorry that I cannot yet tell you what the games are. We'll need to be patient. He actually said today that there's a chance the drop of the NFTs will be delayed until January because of a technical thing that is happening on their end. So that's not confirmed yet, but he did mention that. But what I can tell you is that with all NFT projects, Gary is obsessed with access and utility. And I do think when he talks about big opportunities in this collection, that some of that will be monetary and flipping, but that by combining or playing the game, I guess it's a little early for me to be making this speculation. We don't know yet, but I think that there will be virtual games and real world games. And he made a point to say games are meant to be played forever. So in the same way that he can add utility to VeeFriends 1 whenever he wants, he can add games to the ecosystem of the book games whenever he wants. So whether that's like do X number of exercises in the book and then post them on Twitter or in the Discord, or maybe they'll have a whole platform on VeeFriends.com. How the game is played is yet to be seen, but people will have decisions to make. And if you have multiples, you will have a head start. So when more details come, I will share them. For the time being, I could have given the whole update by saying it's a game, get ready to play, your characters and tokens are on their way. And that would have been a nice rhyme to say. Moving on. Series 2. In the Podcast Panther interview, Gary gave a very clear description of Series 2 that I thought was notable. He said, Series 2 is a lower cost entry to characters I plan to make matter over the next 40 years. So we could have assumed that. We could have assumed that these characters were like whatever artwork is in VeeFriends 2 was the characters that we know from VeeFriends 1, but he's never confirmed it in such terms. And I think it's notable that Series 2 seems to be a version 2, a literal version 2 of the characters we already know. Will it include a new character or two? Probably, maybe, I don't know. But when asked about what VeeFriends 2 will be for the IP, he said expansion. So I think it stands to reason that the IP is going to get a big boost, sort of more clarity of circumstance and context through the artwork of Series 2. Moving on to some VCon updates in the, I think it was in the Empathy Wines announcement today. He suggested that because there's so much space at the US Bank Stadium, he wants to create a flea market at VCon and allow people to sort of bring whatever they want to sell. The structure of that is totally unknown, but he brought it up in the context that he hopes in a couple years that people are bringing their Empathy Elephant 2019 Cab Sav to the flea market and selling it for a stupid markup. And then Nate actually said, what about garage sailing at VCon? And his response was, I've got a lot of ideas. He repeated again that he has 13 speakers confirmed for VCon that he has yet to announce, and that if he did, people would lose their minds, that VCon is going to be out of control, quote. So I'm excited. 25 minutes in, and to wrap up, I want to share a message from the man himself. This was very notable to me. This is in regard to the book NFTs and sort of giving people a bit of a insight into how to play that I think is reflective of also how he thinks people should play the entire NFT space for the long term, not for the short term. But the reason that this stood out to me is simply because this is the longest message that Gary has written in the Discord in months. And it reads as follows. The one thing I'm sure of is that most of the people who bought the books and will get the quote book games NFTs will overvalue the first 3 to 4 weeks in terms of trying to understand their value, and that many people will paper hands and many will misunderstand the NFTs like they did with Series 1 and focus on the games instead of the macro. Too many focused on the conference and miss the big picture here. Same will happen when the book tokens come out. People will focus on the supply and the games and will really miss it. I'm excited to exceed expectations again. And remember, everyone, games are meant to be played forever. Mic drop. So there you have it, folks. Games are meant to be played forever. I'm very much looking forward to figuring this out with you. I think those of us who are here in this clubhouse room and those of us listening to this podcast are going to have the best advantage to win these book games. And I hope that there is a collaborative element that we can all benefit from. It's going to be very fun. It seems very thoughtful, and it also seems like the beginning of something great. So we are 6 months into this journey. We've got a book release happening in the next couple of weeks, an NFT dropping 4 to 6 weeks after that, V2 right around the corner, and VCon just after that. I hope that you enjoyed this slightly longer VeeCap. I hope I was able to alert you to something that you might have missed in the space over the last week. Please let me know your thoughts at Twitter, Jeremy Knows VF, or Instagram at Wanna Be a V Friend. If you want to support me in making this content, you can follow the link in my bio to our tip jar. That is greatly appreciated. Otherwise, I'm grateful for your attention, grateful for your time, and would like to thank you, as always, for listening. My name is Jeremy. I am the Heart Trooper number 7. This has been the weekly VeeCap for November 10th, November 17th on the Jeremy Knows podcast. And I will see you tomorrow. That was a mouthful. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of the nature of the beast, right? It's like I'd like to and there's nothing intentional about that. It's just it's the way it is. Yeah, I'm hoping that there's competition, but opportunities for collaboration in the book games. I mean, I'm sure people. I'm sure there will be a lot of I'm sure it will be difficult to navigate that for a lot of people because some people will have 20 tokens, and other will have 2. And how do you if you don't even know what you're playing for, how do you distribute the rewards? But for the people who can work together, I think they probably stand to win a lot. Sort of like the Creature World airdrop. Really grateful for everybody who's watching here. Thank you so much. You can join the clubhouse through Let's V Friends. Go to let's.vfriends on Twitter to get the link. I got a dip, but I'll be in the clubhouse a little longer. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.